Tom Clark's 6M podcast is a Boink Studios production. And now, on with the show. Hey, what is up? Welcome to Tom Clark's 6M podcast. I'm your host, Tom Clark, and in this episode, I'm joined by co-host Phil Lindsey.
1970s cop shows, cop movies, the clothes, the cars, the guns, the shades, the hair, of course, the porn, which porn's in every era. I don't know why I focused on that. Maybe because the movie we're going to talk about. The point here, kids, is this. In the microcosm of Hollywood, as you go through the years, at any given time, the 70s stuff becomes like an anchor, perhaps like a focal point, like it's chic. You know what I mean? Like it gets put in like movies and TV, and the music will make a comeback. Some 70s music will never die. Some, like the disco, we wish would go away, right? Maybe not all of it, but some of it, right? But the point is that we look back on that time and like, again, at the bell bottoms, the prints, like the hair, the afro, the chains and stuff. And you're like, it can either be all comedy or it actually look pretty sharp, it can actually look pretty cool. Now, people in the 80s maybe not have thought of that because it was like 10 years removed, but things change over time, right, kids? Things change over time. I often wonder, like 30 years from now, would they be talking about this era and what we were wearing and saying and how we were saying and what the shows look like? I have no idea. But style, I think, is at the gist of this, right? We're talking today about The Nice Guys. This movie has so much style. This movie has so much flair. There's so much cool stuff in this flick. From the soundtrack to the dialogue. My God, the dialogue is effing great. The two main stars of this flick we're going to talk about here today, these guys have so much chemistry together. It is off the charts. I can't wait to freaking get into this here. I think this is going to be a fun episode. Let's talk about it. The Nice Guys is a 2016 American neo-noir, you like that? Buddy action comedy film directed and co-written alongside Anthony Bagarozzi by Shane Black. The great Shane Black, kids. We've talked about his stuff here before on the 6M. Produced by Joel Silver. And starring two leading men that in the eyes of some folks are unmatched, and together they're a powerhouse team. Along with a supporting cast of characters, it's set in 1977 Los Angeles, and the film focuses on Private Eye Holland March and tough enforcer for hire Jackson Healy, who team up to investigate the disappearance of a teenage girl. The release date was May 11th, 2016. And the United States release May 20th, 2016. Running time 116 minutes. The budget for this film was $50 million. The box office was a paltry $62.8 million. I say paltry as if $62.8 million is no money to me. It's like nothing. It's pennies. But in other words, it made some money, but maybe it didn't make enough. We'll get into that here today. And that is your rundown for The Nice Guys. So, Phil, I told you off mic before we started recording here today that I haven't seen this film in a while, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. I kind of saw it with fresh eyes because it's been so long. How long has it been since you've seen this movie? What do you think about it overall?
I haven't seen it in a few years. It does seem wild to think about this movie is about 7 years old at this point. And I feel like it's already like a cult classic. I don't know if this is too soon to call it a cult classic. But when you mention how much money it made, it's definitely popular with a certain crowd. It's definitely popular on the internet. So I'm kind of surprised when I talk to people I know offline that haven't seen it.
Oh, same. Dude, the vibe of this film, Phil, is fantastic. Like they nail, first of all, like I said, they nail the fashion, they nail the music, they nail the vibes, the characters. Everything just fits like a glove, man. I mean, this feels authentic, doesn't it?
It does. Like you said, all the way down to the music, the clothes, just the way people talk, just the difference in how pornography is discussed in this movie. Like this is still like right at that point in American culture where pornography went from being a taboo to like being this very mainstream Hollywood thing. And it's weird to think about. Like at one point, like you did have this subculture of porn where you can have a porn movie that's shown in like movie theaters, and to see where it is now, where the internet has turned it into something completely else. It's just wild to think about, man.
God, mainstream is the word. It's going to kind of sound weird to say. It's kind of hard to imagine American pop culture without porn. It's not to say that it's a hallmark or something, but yeah, you're right. So mainstream, dude. Like, you think anybody in the 50s could have imagined a time when that would have been the case? Can you imagine?
Yeah. I think in the 70s there was definitely like a weird, I don't want to, well, no, it's probably the right word. It's a seedy side to porn. And there's always been a seedy side to porn even today. But it was definitely a lot more taboo than it is now. I almost feel like people are desensitized to porn now because it's just everywhere.
Oh, dude, yeah. Pull out your phone and you can find everything. Yeah. I'm not going to be that old dude that says we have too much information. I love my phone. I love technology. I'll save that argument and that debate for another podcast for another day.
Yeah, but I mean, you remember the time period where you had to hide your porn. You had to go and find it. It wasn't like it was just readily available like the internet era. Like you could just get on the internet and there's just porn everywhere. There was a time period where, kids used to, I wasn't one of those kids, but when I hear other people talk about it, it's strange. The people like used to bury their porn in the woods.
Oh, wow.
You remember that?
That is deep cuts, man. Jeez. Yeah.
Yeah. Like people used to bury their porn in the woods or hide it. People would have like physical VHSs of porn that they hide under their bed or something. Like that time period is definitely over with.
Oh, yeah. And can't speak for all kinds of porn kids because I'm sure there's all kinds of wackadoodle porn that man's not fit to watch. But
yeah.
Hey, look, if you're a well-adjusted person and the porn you're watching is not criminal in intent and you're not hurting anyone, it's the privacy of your own home, people need to mind their business. I'm not advocating for anything here, but for someone to tell me I can't watch something is akin to telling me I can't read something, and then it goes a step further. What they're going to tell me what I can and can't do with my body. So that's a problem. So like, you know what I mean? Like the more people trying to put their nose in, the more of your freedoms you feel like they're getting stripped away little by little. So
yeah, it's just I can't even imagine like the time period where you used to stay up late at night to watch the movie channels hoping you were going to get like that weird softcore porn.
Yeah.
And, like this time period where you could just hop on Twitter or something and just like inadvertently see porn. Like it's such a different time, man.
Have you ever went to Google something and the minute you type it, oh, I better rephrase this because I don't know what it's going to bring up?
Yeah.
Oh my God. I did it one day. I forget what I was looking for and all the stuff popped. I'm like, oh man, I should have thought about how that sounded. So yeah.
Yeah, you can turn the filter now with Google where to filter a lot of stuff out.
That's fair. Yeah, that's true. But well, it's instead of being trapped in time because this movie wasn't made in the 70s, this movie just kind of takes like a stylized approach to 1970s, what things look like, what they sounded like or whatnot. Do you enjoy, I'm going to call this a period piece. I hear the word period piece, Phil. I think of like the Victorian age or something. Yeah. But do you enjoy pieces like this that are set in a certain element of time?
Yeah, I do. I think that when you get stuff that's like a snapshot of that time period, and it's covered correctly and it takes you back to that time period. Of course, I wasn't here in the 70s, but it makes you feel like you were there. I think that stuff is good. That's the stuff that we go to movies to see. Like when you like are in a movie theater and you're getting the experience of going to movies. That's why we enjoy these things, even if it's just being alone at home and putting in a movie by yourself. That's part of the movie going experience.
Oh, for sure, man. I mean, movies are time capsules, right? You and I spoke here before about how albums are tied to past relationships and like movies can be as well. And Movies bring back things for you, man. Everybody connects to art so differently, which is why art will always be subjective. For as many people that like this movie, like you and I do, they're probably just as many that think it's garbage, and we're like, you people are nuts. But
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Like, stuff is tied to your history, man, to your life in the past, you know?
Which speaking of, when I went back to see if I went to the movies to see this movie, and I saw what year it came out, I was like, oh, I probably didn't, because 2016 was the worst year of all time.
Oh,
And
wow.
there's a lot of stuff at that time period that I didn't get to go see at the time, but I saw it after the fact. 2016 was awful, awful year. It was awful, awful year.
Mm. I got a couple like that. 2000 was bad for me. It was really bad for me. 2020 was much worse, and not even because of the pandemic. 2020 was much worse than 2000. So here's to never having a year like that again, Phil. So
Yeah.
I'm all for that. I'm watching this movie back again right now, and it's so hard to not just dive into it because, man, there's so much fun stuff happening here. Like, costuming on point for you and everything. Does any of this feel forced at all? Do you feel like, oh, that's of course that car is in this scene? You know what I mean? Does any of that happen to you when you watch this again?
No, I think all of this fits. It very much feels like a Shane Black movie. If you've seen any of his other movies, whether it be Long Kiss Goodnight or Kiss Kiss Bang Bang or even Iron Man 3, it has the same tone. It has the same witty dialogue. It has the same. Of course, there's a part of it where as soon as we get into the movie and it's Christmas, I was like, of course, because it's Shane Black. Most of his movies take place in Christmas.
It's fair.
Lethal Weapon also, he directed those.
True. Yeah. God, this guy. When was the last time we talked about Shane Black here? I think that's what led us to this film.
I don't remember, but I'm a big fan of his movies. I am a longtime defender of Iron Man 3. I still believe that it's the best Iron Man movie. And I think a lot of what makes that movie special and makes it stand out next to the other MCU movies is Shane Black.
That's what brought us here, Phil, because we did Iron Man 3. So there you go. Yep. That's what brought us here. I agree, dude. His kids, go Google this guy and look at his credits, man. Lethal Weapon 2, Last Boy Scout, Last Action Hero, Long Kiss Goodnight, Kiss Kiss Bang Bang, Iron Man 3, The Predator, Nice Guys. Yeah. It's funny because when I first heard the name Shane Black and heard director Shane Black, I'm like, isn't that the guy from Predator? Like, you know what I mean? Like it didn't take me long. I'm like, there's no way that two dudes in Hollywood are named Shane Black. And then I put the two and two together. So he was Hawkins in Predator, by the way. So yeah, he told the either memorable or highly forgettable joke to Billy, which I will not repeat here. I'll just leave it at that. If you know it, you know it. If you don't, you don't. But I'm not going to tell you.
Yeah.
So let's get into this cast, man. The two leading men. Phil, we've done a lot of these 6Ms. We've only ever talked about these two guys in passing. I don't think we've ever covered anything with either of these two guys unless we're talking about, we did some Justice League stuff because reasons. So I'm sure we mentioned Russell Crowe, but I don't know that we've mentioned him in any other context unless I'm just not remembering the film. But Russell is Jackson Healy, paired with Ryan Gosling as Holland March. These are 1970s names, if I've ever heard them, so well done. Dude, how great are these two guys in this movie together, man?
Yeah, they're great. I just think they play off each other well. They couldn't be any more different. When they're doing their voiceovers towards the beginning of the movie, it definitely makes this feel like a noir detective movie. But Russell's voiceover seems like more in place of like what you'd expect, like this kind of like hard-boiled, like work for hire guy to sound like over this kind of movie. And then you get Ryan Gosling over it, and it just seems like Ryan Gosling is trying to fit the bill. And that's exactly what his character is trying to do the entire movie as a private eye. And it's just so funny when he's doing a voiceover and he tried to break into that place where he wrapped his hand in and punched the window in first, and he ends up like bleeding out really bad. One of the funniest scenes in the entire movie. Yeah, they're great, man. I think Russell is great as like this tough guy that's also quirky and kind of neurotic. I love the scene where he gets the yoo-hoo after he beats up Ryan Gosling's character early in the movie. And he's just like, oh, yeah, I remember how much I love Yoo-Hoo. And then, like, a few scenes later, you see him with this big case of Yoo-Hoo.
Yeah.
It's just great.
And funny, I didn't know that what he tells his daughter was a slogan. It's me, he, for you, who was a slogan that company used. I don't think I've ever heard that slogan before. Have you?
No.
Yeah, it was legit, man. It was a legit slogan that they used in like the 60s. I don't know how long it lasted, but kind of a nice touch. They put that in here. Dude, that scene where he goes to bust the glass, and right before he does it, the handkerchief falls and he has to put it back on his fist. So good. And then he pops through it and like immediately like basically slits his wrist. Dude, oh my God. And the way he's all over the back of that ambulance, like he's about to fall out of the bed, is hilarious.
Yeah, he's like sliding all down the wall after he does it. It's so funny.
He's a world-class screw-up, this guy, man. World-class screw-up. Like, Russell Crowe is absolutely the straight man. Ryan Gosling is the screw-up, man. I didn't realize, like, man, we know Gosling's a leading man. What's your opinion on this guy? I don't know. We've talked about a lot of big list or A-list big-name guys here on the show before. Where do you hold Ryan Gosling in the grand scheme of things? Do you enjoy his work? Do you skip it? Like, do you make a point to watch his movies or what?
I can't say that I like seek out things like The Notebook. Like, I know it has its place
Right.
in the compendium of like pop culture, and I think he's a good leading man. But a lot of things I've enjoyed him in have been things like this, where he is either the comic relief or he's like a supporting character. He's very, very good in this. I mean, this dialogue is perfect for him. He does really well. All of the stuff with him and his daughter is very funny. They have really good chemistry together. His line when they're going into the party and she's like, "Dad, there are whores and stuff in there." He's like, "I've told you about that. Don't say that. Don't just say that there are whores here, not and stuff."
Yeah. Don't just say ants. Yeah. Oh, that's good. That's good. Well, you know, that they tell you that his wife died. So you can tell that a lot of what's happening with him is probably from he's a bit lost. He's not sure what he's doing anymore because she's gone. And they don't spend a lot of time on that. I feel that the emotional beats in this movie, that they're not shoved down your throat. They're just enough to give you like character exposition, but you don't get so much that you feel like they're beating you over the head with it.
Yes.
So yeah, I enjoy that. And Russell Crowe's bit, like, we don't get till like the third act of the movie when he says what he says to him, but Gosling is like passed out asleep. So like, oh, there's some depth to Russell Crowe's character as well, but no one knows because he was asleep the whole time. So that's good. The dialogue here is fantastic, as you said. I mean, everything does feel like it fits. What was the line that he says in the voiceover in the beginning? Russell Crowe, he says, marriage is buying a house for somebody you hate.
Yes.
That's a great line. Oh my God.
Yes. A lot of very witty and dry humor in a dialogue here.
Oh, so good. I'm telling you, that's where the movie wins. I think if the dialogue had not been that crisp, I don't think I would have enjoyed it that much, but it absolutely wins.
Yeah, that's part of what makes the Shane Black movie sing. You can tell that when it's written and directed by him. And again, I don't want to turn this into my Iron Man defense, but I think that's a part of what I love about Iron Man 3. A lot of dialogue in it is so very memorable. Like, there are many things from Iron Man 3 that I quote all the time.
Oh, and by the way, I was just reading over something. But by the way, kids, Iron Man 3 is in the archives. And Phil states his case, of which I agree, because Iron Man 3 is extremely solid film, despite what anyone says. Very good movie.
Yeah. No. I all the time think of him and fighting the woman in the diner, and she goes, "Is that all you got? A cheap trick and attacking one-liner?" And he goes, "Lady, that could be the name of my autobiography."
Yeah. That's good. Some of the one-liners from this film, like, honestly, a lot of them belong to Ryan Gosling in this film, Holland March. Because he says, you know who else was just following orders? Adolf Hitler. And the way they look at him, you're like, what are you talking about?
Yeah. Wild thing to just say in conversation.
Oh, it's little stuff like that I really appreciate. Yeah, it's good. See, something else was when he uses the word Munich. He said a guy with no testicles, Munich, and he's like, what? The guy without his balls, Munich. Munich is a city in Germany. Munich. You sure? Like, my dad was stationed there. He goes, right. Hitler only had one ball. As if that's excusing the conversation.
Yeah. So many times he does stuff like that, or when they're in the car, they're sitting talking at Holly's birthday party, and she's like shows up behind him and does the badooch, and she's like, "What are you doing here?" And he's like, she's like, "Give me a rim job." And like, I think you mean rim shot.
You see the way he looked around when he did that?
Yes.
Oh, that's good stuff. That's fun. He says when they were with those girls, he said, Jesus Christ, one at a time. And she goes, you took the Lord's name in vain. No, I didn't, Janet. I found it very useful, actually. Okay, Janet. Like, just moments like that. It's so funny.
Yeah. They don't seem to like Janet very much, because
I know.
It's just like she's friends with Janet, but they both just seem to find Janet annoying. Because she goes, hey, you're that guy that beat up my dad. And she goes, you beat up people for money? You think you could beat up Janet?
Yeah. I don't know. He starts questioning her. She's like, we're not having this conversation. Like, hey, I'm just talking to her, right? Oh, it's good. Yeah. That the kid, by the way, who we'll talk about here. The kid is Anjali Rice as Holly March. Dude, she's fantastic in this movie, man. She's so good.
She is. She's great. She, of course, was also in Spider-Man movies. She was, I believe, Betty Brant in those movies, right?
She was.
Yeah. So that's where I immediately recognized her from. But she was really good in this. But again, the hallmark of Shane Black movies. He's very good at directing child actors and getting good performances out of them. As you talked about earlier, Last Action Hero. Kid that was in, I believe his name is Riley, the kid that was in Iron Man 3. He's really good at it.
Yeah. And he's in this flick. He's the one that finds Misty Mountains in the beginning of this movie.
He does. The actor's name is Ty Simpkins. Is that it?
That is it, yeah. He's got a very memorable name, too, by the way.
Yeah, he's showed up a lot of places after Iron Man 3. I know he's in Jurassic World.
Mm-hmm.
He was in... he has a brief cameo in Avengers.
That's right.
He's been around.
Yeah. Yeah, he's so the whole porn thing is at play here too because of Misty Mountains, which, by the way, if you had to have a porn name, that's pretty darn good.
Very, very 70s porn star name.
Yes.
Misty Mountains.
That is Muriel Tello. Muriel Telio. I'm always afraid I'm going to butcher names. But she was actually in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., but I don't know who her character was, do you?
I don't.
She was in, looks like it was just a guest slot in 2015. Yeah, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. And she was a character in Eastbound and Down. Looks like it was just a one shot there as well. She's done a few things, but she hasn't like exactly blown up. But yeah, I mean, what a way to kick off this movie, dude. Is that car going straight through that kid's house?
Yes. And for some reason, Misty is naked driving.
Yes. And just asks him if he likes her car, has to call him big boy, and it's a kid, which is interesting. And like Hollywood science, Phil, dictates that this kid didn't panic, didn't cry, didn't scream, didn't try to call the cops. He just very, very calmly went outside. You know what I mean? Like, it's only in a movie would stuff like this happen. Would that be normal?
Yeah, he just happened to be looking at a magazine with her on the front of it.
Well, we forgot that part, didn't we? Yeah, you're right. Yeah. But, yeah, she has a brief but memorable part in this. I mean, kind of as a shock to the system when that happens in more ways than one, because it's kind of setting the stage for what you're going to see in the rest of the film, because There's moments of everything being very quiet, and then all of a sudden, boom, something big happens, which I kind of like. But I think a lot of that's also tied to the dialogue, as we said.
Yes.
It's amazing to me that there was never a sequel, and there was talk about doing a part 2. Usually, Phil, I think we've both had, more often than not, agreed that some movies do not need a sequel. Why would you make a film? Leave it alone. You know, this movie's great. I'm going to be honest with you. This movie should have had a sequel or 2, honestly. I mean, I think it would have been great, dude. What do you think?
Yeah, I definitely would like to see a sequel to this. I'll always see people talking about a sequel online. And we always hear like there's like a possibility of a future. I don't know if it's set in stone. But I definitely think that a sequel should be made.
So in 2016, while the film was like being released, there were already people asking about a sequel. And Shane Black at the time said he didn't believe in jinxes, but that they need people to see this movie before they can even talk about another one. And that, you know, this movie was coming up against Captain America, which was kind of a problem. And then in 2018, he once again talked about wanting to do a sequel, but he said that the first film probably didn't make enough money for the studio to do it. And then in 2017, Fox supposedly gave a script commitment to a contemporary female-led version of the film titled The Nice Girls, which I do not, that's 2017. Here we are 6 years later. I don't know how much interest I have in that, but and I only say that because there's so much that we haven't done with a sequel to this movie yet. If this movie had was a trilogy and then they wanted to spin it off, I kind of see that. But Phil, I think there's a lot of untapped potential here with another film for this franchise.
Yes, I would very much like to see a sequel to this instead of another spinoff.
What do you think about what would be your take on making this? Now, this might be a hard sell because you'd have to recast. But how would you feel about this becoming a streamer with 2, maybe not unknown actors, but, really good in the roles and make this a weekly series? Like, you know what I mean? Like an episodic series. Would that work, or would it just depend on creative forces behind it?
I think that could work. I think you could set it the same way and do kind of like a Hawaii Five-0 kind of thing.
Oh, yeah.
I think that would work. But I don't know how well, I don't know if they could get the same cast and everything back to do it.
Yeah, that's fair. That might be, dude, there's a lot of big name actors, A-list actors doing streamers these days. So I don't know that it's unheard of, but it would have to be whatever studio owns this. I mean, it's Warner Brothers, it'd be HBO Max. So if Max, were to pull the trigger, that's a lot of money to be paid to these guys, man. I don't know. It'd be interesting to see. What do you think about, all right, let's talk about Margaret Qualley as Amelia. Dude, I think Amelia's name was mentioned more than anybody else's name in this entire movie. They talk about her so much, and then in the end, they couldn't save her. It's, boy. What do you think about this character here? Were you able to follow the plot of this? Because there were moments when I had to kind of stop and say, wait a minute. Do you know what I mean? Was it a little too busy for you at any given time, or was it working for you?
There are a lot of twists and turns, but I think it's kind of like in the vein of detective movies where it rewards you for paying attention. And I think that she fits this role as the damsel in distress in a lot of these in a lot of those early detective / noir movies, and they did a great job of flipping that archetype on its head and giving her these other things that are relevant to that time period, her being an activist and all these other things. And of course, her ultimate fate in it, it just fits this movie perfectly, man. That it's just such a plot twist, and it's such a, well, of course they screwed this up because these two guys just can't seem to get anything right with solving this case. I think that she's great in the role. I think that her role in the movie is great, and her, of course, outcome is awful, but it just fits the movie so well.
It does. They're screwed up individually, but together I think they're worse. I question them becoming partners at the end because I'm like, is this a really good idea? Like, should these guys be working? Dude, what do you think? Should these guys really be working together after this movie? Be honest.
They don't really make a great team. I think that they make a great team in terms of a movie because it's entertaining. But like in terms of like their chemistry, like there's a scene where Russell Crowe calls for the gun and he tries to throw him the gun. He throws it straight out the window.
Yeah. Oh my God. Yeah. I love when they're having that conversation at the end. He's like, I thought I sent you up to the roof, right? He's like, how'd you get down here? And he said, I don't think I can die. What did he say? I think I'm immortal. It's like the only thing that makes sense.
Yeah.
Because stuff keeps happening to him and he doesn't die. It's crazy.
Yeah. There's all of this stuff that just seems to work out for them as well. Like when Holly comes in and throws the coffee on on the one woman that has the gun on him, and she's just like, "Why you throw cold coffee on me?"
Yeah.
It's like, oh, I thought it was hot, and then she ends up slipping on the coffee anyway, and it just works out.
And it just knocks her. She just knocks herself out.
Yeah.
And Holland, Ryan's character, is very taken with her. Let's talk about that because like he's smitten, I think. And that ends up not working out, apparently.
No.
Because she's a bad guy.
No, not at all. Very beautiful woman. She, of course, was she was on America's Next Top Model, if I remember correctly. And then she did like a couple of movies and TV shows, but very beautiful woman.
That is Tally.
Her real name is Yaya. I don't remember her. Yeah, it's Tally then.
Yeah. Interesting. Yeah. She's done some soap opera stuff. TV work, Ugly Betty, Chicago Med.
Yeah, she played Whitney Houston. She played Whitney Houston in a made-for-TV movie about Whitney.
That's right. Yeah, yeah. She's easy on the eyes, as they say. Yeah, it's a really good cast, man. Really good cast. Nobody really sticks out at me here as being miscast at all. Nobody I can think of. Good all the way around. Hey kids, Tom Clark here, and did you know the very podcast you're listening to right now is available on boinkstudios.com. B-O-I-N-K, Boink Studios is the home of Tom Clark's Main Event, Tom Clark's 6M podcast, and Two Nations Under Ted, a Ted Lasso podcast. Visit the site today for links to every podcast platform, social media, special announcements, and a lot more. Check out the site and bookmark today, boinkstudios.com. The great Keith David, and if you didn't know what he looked like, close your eyes, you'll know Keith David. I love that guy. That guy, my God. His voice work alone puts him in a Hall of Fame somewhere, dude, for sure. I love that guy.
Yes. Legendary actor, great voice actor, like you said.
Mm-hmm.
He's great here.
Over 300 roles. Wow. Crazy. Him and his partner. And in the credits, he has listed as Blueface. They didn't give him a name. It's Bo Knapp.
Yeah, he yeah, because he tries to open the bag and it blows up in his face.
It's like I tried to tell you. He asked me to say, hey, he's like, can you ask this guy to behave like a professional? Because he's throwing the fish at him. And Keith David's character just looks at him like, like he's upset too. It's so good. Like, I'm sorry. That kind of thing. Oh, it's great. This guy's the right kind of messed up. But what's funny is later on when he meets his demise, like Holland's daughter wants to be there for him and wants to help him. Like, this is a really good kid, man. Like, even though she's around some messed up people, including her dad, she's like a really good kid, dude.
Yes.
It's moments like that I didn't expect in a comedy, but man, when they hit you, they're pretty good. Like those notes. I mean, I think they're working. So, yeah, I didn't expect that at all. Let's see. We also have Chet, who we don't think is anybody. He's the projectionist, which I didn't know there was such a thing. That's Jack Kilmer as Chet, and he ends up becoming a character later on in the movie, or a much more important character, I should say. What's your opinion, dude, here of overall of this plot, the way it ties together? Does everything work? Does everything click? Is there anything that you get hung up on watching it back? Because like the action scenes are great and they keep the story popping and moving along. But is it enough in terms of the coherency of the script? Does it make sense? Is it just a comedy? What do you think?
I think it works. I think it's very intelligently written. not just the dialogue, but just the story itself, because I think it plays on so many things from that time period. It plays on so many other like movies from this genre, and it does enough to either make you appreciate those things, but also gives it a fresh take and does like a different perspective. Um, yeah, I can't say enough about how great just the script to this movie is.
Oh, it's so good. And I'm telling you, man, the dialogue is effing phenomenal. Like, there's stuff I want to quote here, but I try to keep the 6M clean. But that kid that rides up on the bike,
Oh yeah, really really funny.
because it's from out of nowhere. You don't imagine a kid talking like that, man.
Yeah.
It's like, you guys want to see my D? Because he was telling him, he said, what was he said? He tried to get a hold of the director because he told him he had a big D, right? Jesus.
Yeah. Hilarious.
It's like, nobody wants to see your D, dude. He goes, $20? He says, we already paid you. What am I saying? Like, he was having the conversation with him. Oh my God. It is so good. And the line was, I think I'm invincible. It's the only thing that makes sense. I don't think I can die.
Yeah. Yeah. You have that scene where he falls out of the building, and that one guy just hits the ground and just splats into nothing. He just he just basically just explodes into a pile of blood and mess, and he falls into the pool next to him.
Yes, that was Keith David. He got so lucky with that fall, man. Oh my God. Yeah. He'd been on the other side, it would not have worked out as well. There were moments when Ryan's character is like getting drunk that I almost think he's getting drugged as well. Because when he gets drunk, he is completely incoherent, dude.
Completely incoherent. He's got like these weird he's got like these weird hallucinations as well. Yeah. Very funny.
In the car, he imagines that Russell Crowe's telling him, just you don't have to drive itself.
Yeah, and isn't there like a giant bumblebee in the car with them or something?
Mm-hmm. Talking to him in the back. Smoking a cigarette.
Yes.
You fly everywhere. What do you know about driving? I used to drive all the time, but it's the smog, man. It's out of control. Disgusting.
Yes. Yeah. LA is very much a character in this movie. The smog is very prevalent throughout this movie.
Yeah.
Even the Christmas scene at the end, it's LA Christmas. So snow. It's just like just Christmas decorations with the same sunny weather.
That wide shot at the beginning of the movie, there's a haze of smog just hanging over the city, man.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's a good way to put it. It is a character in this movie for sure. We also have, for a weird reason, we have John Boy, which, if you don't know why he's John Boy, like, you find out fairly quickly, is Matt Bomer as John Boy. And like, you hear about him, I think, close to the third act when Blueface is dying in the road. He tells him that John Boy is coming. This guy's a slick hitman, a professional, knows what he's doing. I mean, in the end, he did his job. He got Amelia. He did his job, right? But what do you think about, is it Bomber? I think Matt Bomer here. I know I've seen this guy before, man.
Yeah. Very, very, very Hollywood action movie, leading man look to this guy.
Mm-hmm.
And super duper violent, very violent guy.
Mm.
When he comes and he's like shooting up their house when he's trying to get Amelia. I mean, and even his reaction when he sees her walking along the road, kind of like, what are the odds?
Yeah.
he just kills her like there's nothing. Like, and even in the final act when he's up against our two lead characters, and he's just like beating the crap out of them and like shooting like these massive guns at them. Yeah, he's great.
He's really good. Yeah. And of course he's John Boy because he has the mole on his left cheek, I think is why. But yeah. So that makes sense. Yeah, he's got something else coming up too. I think it's a film coming out, I believe. I don't think it's a series, but it's fairly, I forget the name of it at this point, but he's definitely got something coming up. He's done some soap opera work as well. He was also he had a recurring role on Chuck, was just kind of where it was like his break, and then he did a lot of things after that. Magic Mike and a sequel, Nice Guys, of course. Got a Primetime Emmy Award, or at least nominated. Got a Golden Globe. Yeah, this guy's done some stuff, man. Yeah, for sure. But yeah, I think he's really good here, man. I do. I think it fits. We mentioned Kim Basinger earlier. I don't know if you could say Kim Basinger's Hollywood royalty, but for somebody to be acting for as long as she has and to have had some big time roles behind her as she's had, and she looks great. She's 69 as we record this, and man, she looks really good. But yeah, she's here. Did we get enough of her in this movie, man? Considering she is so good, or do you think we got just the right amount, considering what her character is in this film?
Yeah, she was kind of a surprise cameo here. I didn't expect to see her in this movie, and I thought she was great in a little bit we see her in. But I did think it also fits like this time period and a lot of stuff that came out at this time period, where it's like you get this really cool henchman guy, and then we find out like who is like the main bad guy. It's kind of like, hey, TV's such and such, or famous actor such and such. It was kind of like roll of the week stuff that we would get in those TV shows like like Hawaii Five-0. So it very much fit the tone of this movie.
Yeah, good call. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, she of course she's Vicky Vale, everybody. Funny, man, as they keep recasting characters in all these Batman films, has anyone else played Vicky besides Kim?
Vicky Vale hasn't been a love interest in any other movie.
They've used her in animation, I think.
Yeah, she's been in the cartoons and stuff, but yeah, I haven't seen her in any of the movies again, I don't think.
Yeah, she even did something with Prince, the Scandalous Sex Suite EP. Well, because it was, Scandalous, that's right. Scandalous from the Batman soundtrack.
Yeah.
Yeah, because her voice is on it. There you go. Yeah, she has a discography, which is interesting. 3 albums on her discography. I guess just from, her sound or her voice is used on these tracks. Vicky Waiting is one of the best Prince songs, by the way, for the record, that exist. I love, and Party Man's a great Prince song, but Vicky Waiting is great. I could put that on any time and listen to it.
Yeah. Excellent soundtrack. The Batman 89 soundtrack is fantastic.
Yeah. God almighty. It's great. Really good. Highly quotable album too.
Yeah.
A lot of good stuff on there. Yeah, she's here, kids. She's really good. She's a heel. Spoiler alert. She's not a good person. But we've got him here, her here. Gil Gerard is in this movie. That's right, kids. If you're a certain age, you know Gil Gerard was Buck Rogers. That's pretty cool. He is Bergen Paulson. So he's in this movie. Jessica, as we mentioned before, Daisy Tahan is Jessica in this movie. Hannibal Buress is in this film. I'd forgotten about Hannibal Buress being in this movie.
Yeah. Hannibal Buress is, of course, known for his comedy and his stand-up. He's also known for the guy that kicked off the downfall of Bill Cosby. He'll always have that attached to his name.
Explain that.
He made a joke about Bill Cosby and how it was kind of not the worst kept secret in Hollywood that he is a rapist. And so that joke then snowballed into all of these women coming forward about him. And then we, of course, got him going to jail for that short-lived time. Like the case and everything that started. Of course, I'm paraphrasing, and of course, I am, oversimplifying this in some ways, but it is interesting that he made that joke, and then all of a sudden, all of this stuff started blowing up in pop culture because some people had never heard the allegations about him before that.
2014 this happened.
Yeah, so that kicked off the snowball effect. I'm sure somewhere Bill Cosby hates Hannibal Buress. He might not, but I'm sure somewhere somebody in his circle is like, that Hannibal Buress, man, ruined everything.
I remember Bill Cosby at the time because a lot of this came out because of Bill's attacks on black men in this country.
Yes.
You know, the pull your pants up spiel and, you know, don't use the N word and don't listen to rap and all this other stuff. Basically, look, I'm not black, so I'm not going to sit here and pass judgment or anything like that. My only 2 cents here would be, why can't people just live their effing lives? Why does anybody need someone telling them? That's kind of what I am with everything. So like, apparently Hannibal was 100% with that because he said, quote, "Yeah, but you raped women, Bill Cosby. So that kind of brings you down a couple of notches," end quote.
Yeah. Oof.
Yeah.
Very pointed joke at the time, and yeah, it turned into a entire discourse online, which turned into more and more women coming out and outing him as, kind of a scumbag.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
So, and like I said, he spent some time in jail because he was eventually convicted. But then he got out on a technicality, so he is back out walking the streets. What a weird time period. There's also that weird time period where, in the midst of this, Eddie Murphy made that joke about Cosby on Saturday Night Live, and Cosby released a statement from jail about Eddie Murphy because he was that upset about it.
And now, directly from jail, here's Bill Cosby.
I wonder what Ja Rule thinks about this.
Oh my God.
What a weird time period. Like, it doesn't seem like that was that long ago, but at the same time, it feels like it was like 10 years ago.
It really does. I honestly, if you pinned me down and say what year does this movie come out, I would have said like 2018, 2019. I would not have said 2016.
Yeah.
To me, it doesn't feel like it's been that long ago, honestly.
But yeah, of course, Hannibal Buress has done other things other than start the revolution against Bill Cosby. He also had, he's done movies, he's done stand-up, he's done television.
Oh, yeah.
But it is interesting that that's going to be one of those things for people that were around for that time period that's always going to be connected to Hannibal.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that makes sense. I can't say I remembered all that, man.
Oh, yeah. As soon as I hear Hannibal Buress, I always think about that. Like, he's the guy that caused the day of reckoning for Bill Cosby.
Man, day of reckoning. I like that. I think we've got all the cast. We did not mention Lois Smith as Mrs. Glenn. She's the aunt of Amelia. She's the one that hires. Because, see, that's where things get weird, is because he's got like 2 cases basically from the beginning of this. Then you got to figure out how these 2 guys cross paths to begin with. I do like the bit when the wife is hiring him to find her husband.
Yes.
Dude, it's my husband. He's gone missing. I'm terribly worried. It's just Fred's never been gone this long before. And dude, Gosling, when he does that double take at the mantle and sees the urn with Fred's name on it.
Yes, it still takes the case.
Oh, it's so good.
So terrible. How they originally crossed paths is very funny as well. When he comes in there and he beats him up and he breaks his arm and he just like squeals after he breaks his arm. So funny.
It's like, you get it, right? You understand how I get it. And then he does something else. Like, I really wish you got it. Really wish you understood here. I get it this time. Then he scrambles across the floor to try to get the gun.
Yeah. Yeah, but he's trying to just let him be, and he just won't stop resisting.
Oh, and he's laying there. He's like, when you go to the doctor, tell them that you have a spiral fracture of the radius bone here. Like, what? He's like, no. And he's like scrambling, trying to get him away from him. Then he's like, can I have an apple on his way out? So funny.
Yeah. Very, breaking your arm. It's very painful. Very painful.
Oh, it's so bad. For sure. So apparently this project was initially proposed as a TV series, but was retooled as a film after the plot seemed to be going nowhere. So apparently that's how this was going to start, and instead it became this. Interesting.
Yeah, it definitely feels episodic by the end of it. It feels like this is a great pilot for a TV show.
God, it really, really does. Yeah.
Tom Clark's 6M podcast is sponsored in part by Radius Law Group. Every day, Radius helps individuals, families, small businesses, and nonprofit organizations throughout North Carolina, Florida, and Pennsylvania resolve their legal issues by providing effective legal counsel in the areas of estate planning, as well as elder law and Medicaid. Radius Law holds the radical belief that working with a lawyer can indeed be enjoyable. So give them a call at 1-800-519-5667 for more information and tell them that Tom Clark's 6M podcast sent you.
Let's see, during March's opening monologue about the downturn of society, a porno theater in the background is playing Bang Bang's Kiss Kiss on the marquee. So that's a nice little callback to Shane's previous film.
Yeah, I didn't notice that. That's great.
Yeah. Russell Crowe did put on some extra weight for the role of Jackson Healy, feeling that the character as an enforcer thug should be a stocky brawler type. Absolutely right call there.
Yeah. Yes. I hadn't noticed, but he definitely is a lot more stocky in this movie. And I think it fits the character perfectly.
And they've got references here to previous things, like there's references to the Rockford Files from 1974. When I was a wee lad, Phil, I watched the Rockford Files. I am revealing my age, but I grew up with that show when I was a little kid. But there's one of the nods to the film is in the Yellow Pages ad for Holland March's detective agency, similar to what Rockford had in that film or that in that show, is almost a complete copy of the ad used for Jim Rockford, in fact. And also, just like Jim Rockford, March keeps his gun in a cookie jar. So there you go. Good stuff. Porn star Misty Mountains is named after one of the film's production companies. That's good.
That's a great Easter egg.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, principal talents Russell Crowe and Ryan Gosling were both child actors who dropped out of high school to pursue their careers and never had formal training in acting. I don't know that I knew that.
I didn't know that either. Yeah, this is Russell Crowe. You think of this guy, Gladiator, and like the big movies he's been in? I would never guess that.
I would never have guessed that, dude. Cinderella Man's one of my favorite movies of all time. I love that film. Such a good movie. At the beginning, when Jackson is learning a new word, equanimity, while feeding his fish, this scene is exactly like a scene from the Asian American film Better Luck Tomorrow. Even the word is the same. I didn't know that either.
Didn't pick that up.
Yeah, it's fun stuff, man.
Really good movie. I just a lot of those small touches, I think, add to just the feel of this movie in a lot of ways. I wouldn't have guessed some of those factoids, but I just think it adds so much color to this movie.
Gosh, it really does. Yeah. Like it, you know, when a movie feels textured and feels layered, we talked about this here before, man. Like, I'm trying to think of the example here, but like Heels. We covered the show Heels here on the 6M Kids. In the archives, go check it out. But one of the good things about that show is that little town feels lived in. It doesn't feel like they built a set and then filmed a show. Right. It feels like there's layers of real people there. So like this film, Phil, is like, it feels like there's real people. These sets are lived in. These houses are lived in. These clothes have been worn before. None of this to me feels like, let's put this on this guy action. Like it feels like, and I'm sure that's because LA is like a big character in this film, right? But everything just feels like it fits here, man.
Yes, I agree.
Good stuff. The thing I popped over earlier, in the elevator scene, the same music plays in the background as in the elevator scene in the Blues Brothers, and it's the girl from Ipanema. I don't know if I recalled that. That's good.
Yeah, I mean, you get a lot of other like 70s music, like of course Boogie Wonderland, September and stuff. Like all of that stuff is great.
Did you know that Chet, played by Jack Kilmer, is Val Kilmer's son?
I didn't, but I guess I could have thought about that. Yeah, interesting. I did notice his last name, and I just didn't put two and two together.
It is one of those last names, like in terms of Hollywood, you're like, that's got to be his son. Like,
right.
Yeah. Downtown Atlanta doubled for 1970s Los Angeles during filming. Prop cars were given California plates, and a car was painted to resemble a 70s-era LA cab called the Hollywood Taxi Company.
Yeah, a lot of stuff is filmed in Atlanta. It's probably cheap to film in Atlanta. So
I'm sure. Yeah.
A lot of stuff gets filmed in Atlanta.
Atlanta's a big city, man, but I don't I think their crime rate has dissuaded me from visiting several times.
Atlanta's a very interesting city because it is very rural, and that's coming from me, coming from one of the biggest cities in the country.
Mm-hmm.
Every time I'm down there, I notice just how different it is down there. Like the city, like the buildings are a lot more spaced apart, and then once you get outside of like the downtown area, you definitely have to have a car. Because everything is just so spaced apart. There's parts of of Atlanta where it gets very dark. They don't have street lights. I've always had a lot of fun in Atlanta. As a matter of fact, I was just talking about how much I would love to get back down there to go to Dragon Con because I've never gone. But anytime I've gone down there for just anything, even if it's just for a weekend, I have a good time. Really good food. The Keith Lee fiasco this week aside, really good food.
Right. Yeah, I remember I was researching something. It's several years. I may have been in high school. We're going back a long time, kids. And maybe this has always been the case, but like per capita, I think Atlanta's crime rate was worse than Los Angeles.
Yeah, it's
based on population.
It's a smaller city too. I think that's part of it.
That's fair, yeah.
Yeah. And I'm sure that, localized and there's other aspects that go into that.
Yeah, for sure. This movie, first reunion of Russell Crowe and Kim Basinger since L.A. Confidential, and also the second time that Crowe and Ty Simpkins are together in a movie, the first being The Next 3 Days from 2010. I did not know that. Interesting.
I think I've seen that movie.
I don't think I have either, actually. Yeah. So the film takes place in 1977, if we hadn't mentioned that. We did mention Ty being in Iron Man 3. Yeah. This movie has 4 alumni from the MCU. Director Shane Black, of course, because he directed Iron Man 3. And actually because he's got connections here, they've got that linked up. So it's like the movie has 4 alumni from the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Director Shane Black directed Iron Man 3, which starred Robert Downey Jr. Robert Downey Jr. is Sid Shattuck in this film.
Yes, he does have a brief cameo.
There you go. So he is attached here. Ty Simpkins is Bobby, of course. Andrew Rice as Holly was in Spider-Man Homecoming, of course, and its sequels. Mm-hmm. And then Keith David has voiced several characters in Marvel-related. All right, that's a bit of a stretch.
I thought you were going to say Russell Crowe because Russell Crowe was Zeus.
Russell Crowe was Zeus. Well done. That shows you whoever wrote this particular bit of information. It's a bit outdated.
Yeah, of course, Love and Thunder came out after this movie. So
that's true.
It just was never added.
That's probably what it's going for. By the way, kids, all that I just gave you was from imdb.com. So there you go. Yeah, good stuff. Yeah, again, dude, it's rare. I don't want to say rare. I don't know how often we end a 6M by saying, man, I wish we'd got a sequel. But, the cool thing is this movie is not so time sensitive, in my opinion, that you need to go, oh, wait a minute. Oh, it's going on, it's 17 years. Oh, you can't make a part. Who said you can't make a part 2? What's it matter? Like, Ryan Gosling hasn't aged a day. Look at the guy now. He hasn't aged. Like,
yeah. Just literally played a Kindle.
Yes. Yeah, I'm not getting hung up on the time span at all. I think you could make a part 2 and it would totally make a buttload of money. And I think it would be great, actually.
Yeah, I very much want a sequel to this movie. It's so good. But, if this is just one of those things that never gets a sequel and it just remains a cult classic, I'm fine with that as well.
Yeah, I'm okay with that too. Yeah. Yeah, totally fine with me. It's a good flick, kids, if you've not checked it out. It's very much worth your time. A lot of great moments in this movie. Highly entertaining. And we will vouch for it. That's it, kids. That is... There's your film. So yeah, dive in if you've not seen it. You can catch it now on Netflix if you so desire. If you'd rather not pay for it, if you're one of those people who doesn't like to pay money because you value money or something weird and don't want to blow it on stuff you don't need, what's wrong with you people? Then maybe it's on Pluto. I'm not sure. Not the planet. Is it Pluto that's no longer a planet?
Is it?
I think. One of them lost its planethood, didn't it? I think it was Pluto.
I don't know. Planethood sounds hilarious. I don't know.
I'm saying, I think it was Pluto because it's just a gaseous giant, I believe.
Yeah.
I think it was Pluto. So yeah.
I think that it wasn't considered a planet anymore. I'm not sure if they ever changed that. I can't keep up with these things.
I mean, we're not getting there anyway. I don't know what we're getting so much sleep over. We're not getting there anyway.
Yeah,
so,
quick Google search tells me that Pluto was no longer recognized as a planet in 2006.
they done kicked it out, man. I'm telling you. It'd been part of the club for a long time. You know, had the matching jersey. Everything was fine. Had the hat. And it kicked it out. Kidding me? Had the signal ring and everything. And they said, that's it.
Yeah, ruining a bunch of people's science projects where they go and get the styrofoam balls and go paint them all and make a solar system. Ruining a lot of those science projects. Haven't aged well at all.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's ridiculous. And Pluto was always orange because of the dog.
Yeah,
of course. Well, there you have it, kids. There's your film, The Nice Guys. Again, very much worth your time. Got to go check it out. Phil, what do you think here, my friend? Give me your last word on The Nice Guys.
If you are looking for one of those movies that's like a pleasant surprise, like a popcorn movie, like a Netflix and chill movie, just to try to find something that keeps your interest, this movie is it. It's so good. If you have not seen it, I implore you to go and see it. It is extremely funny, extremely entertaining, very sharp and witty dialogue, very intelligently written script. Can't go wrong with this movie.
Yeah, I don't know if I can do any better than that. That's absolutely right. Everything about it. I mean, this movie is excellent. Again, very much worth your time. You gotta check this out. It's one of those movies you could watch really anytime, put on anywhere. You don't have to be in a certain kind of mood for it. You don't have to get too emotionally invested. You're not troubled when it's over. You're not, grieving the loss of a character. You're not, at least I'm not. I mean, again, like Phil said, it's what fun popcorn movies are supposed to do, kids. It's like The Expendables. Fun popcorn movies. Don't overthink. I was going to say Fast and Furious, but we've got, I don't know how many too many, but way too many of those. They've been to space. What's left at this point? Aren't they supposed to time travel, I think?
I don't think I've ever seen an Expendables movie now that I'm thinking about it.
All the Expendables, yeah. I've seen all the Expendables except the latest because Hail Caesar's not in it.
Oh.
Hail Caesar being Terry Crews. So, yeah, I personally have boycotted this film because Terry Crews is not in it. And it has something to do with the sexual assault allegations he brought out at the time, if you remember that.
Oh, yeah, I forgot about that.
Yeah, and the studio apparently was antsy on having him in this movie because of the heat at the time. And I'm like, yeah, well, if that's the case, I won't be watching your stupid movie. Like,
wow.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. Black man who's ripped like a weightlifter can't, come out and tell his story, right? Because at the time, people were saying things like, well, look at you and look at the guy you accused. And he's like, you want me to beat him up? You want me to... Yeah. You know what I mean? I get arrested for beating up a white guy. I go to jail. I get assault charges pressed on me. Who's going to believe anything I say?
Yeah.
So
very strange situation.
Very strange situation. Yeah. So yeah, that's why I didn't watch it. The Fast and Furious movies, I've only really seen one from end to end. Well, maybe two. And that was just because I happened to be in the same room at the same time. I don't know.
Well, I'll be able to tell right away which one you've seen if you tell me which rapper is in it. If it's Ludacris in it, it's one of the later ones. If it's Ja Rule, then it's the first movie. If it's Bow Wow, then it's Tokyo Drift.
My God. You know a little too much about these films. Are you a fan?
I've seen a bunch of them, but I do think it's funny that like almost every iteration has had a rapper in it as an actor. or Tyrese.
Or Tyrese. Yeah. I saw the Hobbs and Shaw were like, yes, Idris Elba has like superpowers and stuff.
Superpowers.
He does, legit. It's not a good movie. My son wanted to go see it. I'm like, you know what? I'll take you to see it. And all through the movie, I'm like, oh, this is so bad. We knew what we were getting into. I told him ahead of time, it's going to be bad. He's like, I don't care.
Hey, man, come on, man. It's a popcorn movie. You're there for the action and the stunts. Don't pay too much attention to the actual story.
True. Well, you can pay attention to The Nice Guys, kids. This is actually a really good movie as opposed to some other stuff we may have said here. So it's good. Again, go out of your way to see it. And if there's a sequel coming anytime soon, you can be sure we'll probably cover it here. So there you go, kids. In the meantime, that is The Nice Guys.
Hey, thanks for listening to the show. Check out our social media on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at 6M Podcast. We'll see you next time.